What's going on, everybody? Jeff here. Welcome back to the channel. AMC fighting to stay above that $8 breakout level that we've talked about numerous times before. Want to give you a little update in this video. A lot has happened throughout this week. I haven't had time to come on here and record a video. So I'm going to cover just a little bit about the entire market, then get into AMC. Over this weekend, guys, I'll make another video talking about where the market stands. We're at another very critical point, and I'll cover that later on, but let's get right into it. First off, very briefly, Jerome Powell comes out Wednesday, has a dovish tone, market rallies right away. Now, I had stated that there were signs indicating that Jerome Powell would not have a dovish tone. Let me just kind of clarify very briefly on that. At 2:30, the market ripped immediately. The algos kicked on, the market pushed to the upside, had a small scalp opportunity. It immediately held above, that pre-market high, and it just trended and ripped all day long. Really just seems like bulls and investors didn't really care what Jerome Powell was going to say, more of a liquidity grab, and we'll talk a little bit about that further on. I will say that overall, Jerome Powell's speech, he mentioned that, they're going to slow rate hikes. We already knew that, okay? He also did state some things that, in my opinion, were very hawkish. However, market decided to move to the upside. I also said in my previous video that I wasn't going to predict anything that was going to happen from Jerome Powell's speech, and I was going to play whatever was presented in front of me. That brings us to today. Non-farm payrolls come out. Not only was it a miss of their 200,000 expected, it was 263,000 jobs gained, 31% increase. It's a pretty good size miss. Market pulls, and we had some October 13th vibes, right? Massive sell-off when just like when we hit off 350, got a little bounce around and trended all the way up to the upside. You see this white trend line I have here. Okay, this is dating all the way back, and it's not a perfect one, guys, but this is dating all the way back to the high back up in January. Another very critical part. Okay, when you look at a little bit different of a perspective, and this is important to show you, okay, you take a look at the futures, look at the hourly chart. I don't expect that we're going to get through this trend line on the first try. Okay, and as you can see, here we are, another failed, breakout. It's been the MO, throughout this entire bear market, come back down. Is this going to be a retest that confirms that is, resistance, or are we going to continue to move to the upside? That remains to be unseen. I'm not going to be betting anything over the weekend. I will make a much more in-depth video over the weekend talking about just some of the overall market structure of where we're at. All right, we're bouncing off that 350 level. There's only so much higher we can go until we officially enter another bull market. I know it's crazy to think with the economy the way it is that we would potentially be in another bull market. Yeah, I'm not going to buy it myself either. And like I said, we'll talk more about that. AMC. Yesterday, we got a halt to the upside. And, I will say this, it's amazing to see after almost 2 years, since AMC's first initial pop, you have people talking about, the halts and how it's, ridiculous and so forth. And okay, while it might be, and I agree with you to a certain extent, the rules are, they're bent in every other aspect, but not to retail traders. Sorry to say that, but the circuit breakers will trip automatically. It's not something that, somebody presses a button, it trips automatically. And that is why it happens. Okay. So it was no surprise that eventually as AMC was pushing up, it is a part of, of the Russell, and therefore it does. And once it hits a certain requirement, it did halt to the upside. One thing that I will point out, and I said this to everybody inside the group, and I said, "Is this over?" I said, "Well, that 865 was that really big, level of resistance." And not only did we hold, because you got to think, guys, after how many halts do we have? It continuously moves to the downside. What this has done, what AMC has done, what the market makers have done, not only with their manipulation, but abusing the circuit breakers halts, right? Because it's very easy for them to let it ride up, let it halt, and then therefore they pile on their shorts, they unload a bunch of shares, and then it just continues to move to the downside. They've deterred your average retail traders away. Okay, generally speaking, and I have inside the group, I have a halt bot. Okay, it comes out probably about 30-45 seconds after a halt is made. Lets everybody know inside, the group what stock is halted so we can put attention to it. And back in 2021, even 2020, anytime there was, especially the first halt, you were on it. You wanted to get on it, and you would wait for that little bit of a pullback. And Jesus, 9 out of 10 times it was going to rip again. And the same thing would be said for AMC and GameStop. However, that has clearly changed. And therefore, when your average, professional trader, okay, who's not, involved in the mean movement or anything, when they're just looking to play momentum, when they see that halt, they take their money and they're done. And they're completely done with the stock. But it had a lot of volume yesterday, all right? I think it was somewhere around 300% of its average traded volume, maybe even more than that, because the volume is so low. The average I think is like 25 million shares per day now. Okay, and it was up there. We continued to grind even higher. We grinded all the way back up to that 865 level, pushed through that really big 9 psychological resistance before slowly bleeding. Now, when you do draw this out a little bit further, I said this from this last move off of $5. We kind of held this merely ugly looking flag. You can kind of still call it a flag. We kind of held this, all right? We had this trend line, flagging over here, and the same thing coming to the upside. This is a quick one, guys. All right, and kind of had that flag. We broke through it. You're going to want to hold this level right here, this $8 level, even kind of getting down a little bit, dips into that 780 to continue movement to the upside. It seems that is still a little bit disconnected from the preferred equity. Okay, yesterday AMC was up, somewhere around like 20% range, and 8 was kind of lagging a little bit behind. There's also a bit of a disconnect between AMC and GameStop. AMC yesterday ripped really, really hard. Okay, it was up a lot, and GameStop just didn't have that kind of movement. And then today, GameStop looks like it took the lead, and AMC was kind of pulling back or behind it just a little bit as of right now. But the attention is on this. I feel like and as much as I really want to be honest and say that, a lot more times than not, market makers are going to yank this and shorts are going to pile on. It's really unique. We're in a really unique situation. I've always been the one to say that, I said this for quite some time. So every single bear market rally, it is your high growth, your speculative stocks, okay, that get crushed first, but they're also the first to recover. All right. So seeing that, SPY, the entire market is getting to a very critical pivot level. It is a bit overextended to the upside, especially, guys, the macros, what is going on in the economy right now is not something to breed home about. The outlook is not super bright over the next 5 years. Okay, so you gotta need to keep that into perspective. But seeing a stock such as AMC being a speculative, being a high growth, okay, that the fact that it is still holding up at a pretty decent technical level when it comes to not the price point, but when it comes to just a pattern level is pretty good news to the upside. And like I said, if it's going to continue to attract more attention to it, more movement to it, it's going to make the shorts think to themselves, listen, they need some W's in their books, okay? Because their tech stocks they're still holding up, and there's only so much time before they continue to hold up before the bloodbath continues, okay? I will mention this before I end this video, and I'll talk about this in a little bit deeper fashion over the weekend. So please, if you're interested, catch that video. The cycles of how bear markets run, okay, and what occurs during those bear markets, there are so many stages, okay, and events that have not happened yet. Now, it doesn't mean every single one of them has to happen, okay? Like, for example, bear markets never ended, without VIX going over 45, something like that, okay? All eras, and all patterns, okay, they come to an end, right? So it's not saying it's every single one, but there are a lot of stages that have not just occurred. When you look at the economic cycles, when you go back, now I lived through, 08 and 09, but, I was 18, 19 years old. You know what I mean? Like, I don't remember it, like it was fresh and staring at charts like I am every single day now. But when you go back and you read on it, it happened very, very slowly. It takes a lot of time, okay, for the economy to slow down, for the effects to happen, for rates, rate increases to really, really, pull down the economy. What's happening as of right now, jobs to get affected and so forth. As you still see from what I talked about earlier in this video, job growths are still strong. So like I said, guys, catch that video. That's it for this one. See you in the next one.